Hi, I'm Scott Hanselman. This is Intermediate ASP.NET Core 1.0.
And I'm Jeff Fritz, helping Scott with Intermediate ASP.NET Core 1.0.
Together, we are learning how to do this along with you. We're both longtime ASP.NET developers, but haven't spent as much time with Core, so we're learning how all this stuff works.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So in this segment, we're going to talk about web APIs. And briefly, it's important to point out that in the past, we've said ASP.NET MVC, and that's been a box.
Yeah.
And then we said ASP.NET Web API, and that was another box.
Yeah, and they functioned a little bit differently, but they had some of the same named objects in there. It was always confusing to me when I was building a controller. Well, is it a MVC controller or is it an API controller? And I think we've come to a good solution on these things.
We have. In the past, there was deriving from controller, or deriving, as you said, from API controller. They had objects that were named the same. Now, it's completely unified. So that's one of the great benefits of ASP.NET Core, is that a controller is a controller. And then you can also have controllerless controllers. So you can have a controller that has no base class. So there's some funky stuff that you can do. So let's see how easily and quickly we can go and do a controller that's going to return JSON or XML or something like that. So we're doing a UI-less controller.
Yeah, an HTTP endpoint.
Right. Now, we're going to keep using the same application that we've been using before. It's the do-nothing application. Right now, it's just kind of goofing around. And you'll notice here, like, for example, Scott controller, just returns some junk. There's nothing particularly interesting here. All we did was we said use MVC, all right? And up here we said add MVC. But I remember when we said services dot add MVC, there were two options here. What's going on there?
So this is interesting, right? We've got add MVC and MVC Core, right? These two methods. MVC Core, right, it's just those essential MVC services to get things up and running, like routing, right? Or the information to know how to work with the controllers. So very specific, just the minimal things. You don't get Razor capabilities when you do add MVC Core, right?
So this doesn't give you the view aspect. It gives you formatters, so you can make JSON or XML, but it doesn't give you the Razor.
Actually, we need to add formatters also.
So those are separate as well. So it really is essential.
Yeah.
It is a little bit confusing, I have to say, though. I'm not a huge fan of having it have the word core at the end, because ASP.NET Core and then add MVC Core, it implies, I think, that MVC Core is a thing or a product. What this really means is add the essential MVC stuff, but not Razor. But it turns out that that method name was too long.
Yeah, I suppose that's a little wordy.
But that is essentially what it's trying to say when we say add MVC Core. So I'm going to keep it with add MVC, but we do want to point out that services.add_MVC Core does not include Razor. When I was doing the introductory MVA with Maria, I said most people really don't need to do MVC Core unless they're really trying to be efficient. Do you think that was a fair statement?
It's fair to an extent. If they're trying to be efficient, if they're really trying to build that slimmed down system where you want to get the framework out of the way and be able to delegate more processing to your business process and logic, right? Because you've stripped everything else away except for controllers and routing.
So if you're making, as we hear the buzzword, microservice, a small web API, it would be appropriate to just use add MVC Core. But for the beginner making a web page, they'll just use add MVC. Okay. And when we do that, again, we say add MVC. It's confusing because we are using ASP.NET Core. Okay. There is not a thing called ASP.NET Core MVC. That's not a product name. That's not a thing. There's not a ASP.NET Core Web API. It's kind of confusing. It's marketing stuff, but the point is Core has it all. It has MVC, it has Razor, it has Web API. Everything's all integrated. So when we say add MVC, what we're really getting, again, they never use my name stuff. They have add rousing and Razor and good stuff.
Yeah, naming's hard.
Yeah, it isn't really. If they would just do it my way, I think things would be better for everyone. But They don't listen to us. They just put us in a room in here. All right, let's do some web APIs.
All right, let's do it.
Some products. So I'm going to go and say add, new folder, and we'll make models. Remember, we made services, we made middleware. Now it's time for models. And we'll have a product, because that's generic. Could be a blog, could be a whatever makes us happy. And I got to say, I need an int ID, and I need a string name, but I'm going to use snippets, prop tab, tab, ID, space, tab, tab, prop tab, tab, string, tab, string, boom, boom. Isn't that cool?
There's that 100 words a minute typing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can only do that once a day. I'm like Usain Bolt. I'm allowed to sprint once, and then I rest for 4 years.
Okay.
So you'll never see that again. And if I tried it again, I'd be unable to pull that off.
We'll see that in the next ASP.NET Core version of these videos.
And if I ever meet people or they tweet us about this, they're going to say that was done in post-production.
No way.
It was all an editing trick.
There was no video tricks there at all. No. Editors, please don't speed up that video.
Actually, that'd be cool if they did. Builds the legend. Let's make a products controller. All right. So we got a products controller here, and we saw that routing can be centralized, or it can be used with attribute routing, and it seems largely people prefer attribute routing.
See, I think this is interesting because I'm from that school of thought that I want all of my routing in one place in that startup class so that I can go and find all of my routing. I don't have to go search for it everywhere. It's in one place.
Right.
But I totally understand wanting to be able to have that ability to do an override right where that route is being answered.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me, but I like doing it the other way.
Well, let's talk about both ways. So let's go and just say public string, and I'm going to say get. I'm actually naming the method get. Previously, we've done things like index, but I'm going to call it get, okay? And we'll say that returns, hello world, okay? So we've got a products controller that has a get, and that's it. How would that get called in your world? It would be done with the default route.
Yep.
We would pass in /products.
Oh, yeah.
Would we have to say /get? I don't know. We should go find out. Yeah, you don't know, do you? You're wondering yourself.
You've got me.
I don't know. Let's find out. That's
So,
why
so we've named it get because that's the HTTP action name.
Yeah.
So
naming it get didn't buy us anything, though. Right?
No.
Yeah. So let's go back and let's add some attribute routes. All right. We'll go in here and we'll say,
Oh, wait, you're on Scott's controller there.
oh, pardon me. See, good catch. Totally meant to do that. Let's go in here and we will say route /API /square brace, not curly brace, not intuitive. All right. And then, where's the squiggly on the route?
Yep.
Wants to know what to do. We've got to add in our MVC namespace.
Now, what does that square controller thing do?
That is saying that this route here is going to be /API/ and then controller is going to be this part here, the part of the class name minus the word controller.
Okay.
So we could have gone like this, products.
Right.
But then we've got the word products twice. Here we just have controller.
Sure. Okay, so that does the similar type of thing where by convention it's just going to extract the name. So if the name changes,
as I understand it, is a template.
Cool. Okay.
And we can have more sophisticated attribute routing templates as well. Now here gets interesting. Look at that.
There's all my HTTP action verbs.
Right. Here's all your verbs. So this is where we see a nice integration between MVC of old and Web API. They are the same thing now. But also worth pointing out that I didn't derive from controller here. This is a controllerless controller.
So maybe that's...
No, I think it'll be okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So let's say get. So we're going to say we want this to be called on get. I bet you I could call that Fred and it would still work. But we'll try this and we'll see. It's important to test those assumptions.
Sure.
So as folks are learning, they should try to test those assumptions themselves. Okay, let's go and look at products. All right. So that's not doing anything. So let's find out why. It says /products. What does our route say?
/API/products.
There you go. See?
There we go. All
Nice.
right.
Makes sense? All right. So that is a controllerless controller.
Now, you returned a string there, but I see that appearing in the browser. Is that a text file that was returned, or is that HTML?
That is a great question. So again, with browsers, whether it be Chrome in this case or Edge that we've used as well, if we go and do that again, let's see what it came back as. I can click on that and look at the headers.
So text plain.
Text plain. That came back as plain because I didn't say otherwise.
Right, and you didn't provide any formatting, and when you looked at the response, I saw it was just the characters. So it really is...
We downloaded a text file.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about this in the beginning. If you check out the beginner ASP.NET Core, we had a really interesting chat about by saying string there, we were implying an IAction result, of which there are many types, of which one of the types is content result. So it is
right, I remember that.
String is effectively a content. So it's kind of a freebie. Interesting and useful, but we want some JSON. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's go into our references and manage NuGet packages. And we're going to want to use, as you said before, a formatter. Okay? What is a formatter and how is it different than like a serializer? Because you said the JSON doesn't come by default.
Well, it doesn't come by default when you include MVC Core. We've included MVC in this project.
Do I get JSON for free?
So
Do
I
already
believe,
have this?
you know what, can we take a look at our references and expand the MVC
Let's do that.
reference there? You can, so right in Solution Explorer, we can expand our packages here and see what's referenced.
Oh, look at that.
Check it out.
So we already have the thing that we need. So then to your point, we might not necessarily have gotten that if we had just asked for MVC Core. So you can see that this ASP.NET Core.MVC package has this dependency on this core fundamental package.
Yep.
But we already have. So here's all the things that came along, localization and Razor and tag helpers. To your point, the things that you don't necessarily need if you're not doing web pages.
If you're doing just an HTTP endpoint with a web API.
All right, so then that means we already have a JSON formatter, and that's the thing that knows how to take an object and turn it into JSON, which is a JavaScript flavor.
And because we did add MVC inside of our startup class.
I'm going to declare tab bankruptcy.
That's a good idea.
Because a lot was going on there, and it was freaking me out. And I'm going to go in here.
There we go. Right, so we were talking about the difference between saying add MVC and add MVC Core. Because we did add MVC, all those features that we saw are already lit up. If we did add MVC Core...
Get rid of that. Go here, hit dot, and look at that.
Yeah, now we need to...
So you have to ask for stuff.
Yeah, you do.
Interesting. So then I would go and say add JSON formatters dot add dot add dot add dot add. So in that case, bare bones cafeteria plan, I just want this, or the just give me an all-you-can-eat platter, and I'll do that one.
Absolutely.
All right, that's good information. All right, so let's go back over to product controller. I hit Control comma to do that, and we're going to go and take products controller, and I am going to derive from a base class just to make that a little bit easier, and we're going to give it some products. Remember those products that we made before? So we're just going to have a fake database here. I apologize for our fake database. It is what it is. It is a list of products, and we're going to go and make that new list of products. And one of the things that you can do that's kind of nice when you make a list of products is you can go like this. Oops. You can say open.
Wrong way.
There you go. Open, and there you go. All right. And we're going to say into the constructor, I want a new array of, and then we can make a bunch of new products. Okay? So this is going to be an array of products. So we're going to say new product, and again, of course, we can instantiate them like this. And we'll say name equals, computer, and then comma. All right? And then we'll take that whole thing, and we'll make a couple of products. Huh? How classy was that? That nice? Did I do a horrible job on that? Watch that. Look at that.
I was going to say...
I fixed it. Saved it in the last minute. I could even do this with... Look at this. You ever done that?
Isn't that the coolest?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, the Emacs people don't think it's cool, but I do. That's good.
I want to know what the VI folks like about that.
Yeah, it's one of those. That was holding down Alt in order to do that.
To do the vertical square select.
Yeah, vertical select, and then if I wanted to take, like for example, oops, if I wanted to take name, do that.
Yeah.
It's good. All right, so there is our products. We'll get rid of that final comma right there. There's our poor person's database, okay? And then we're going to change get, because right now we're returning a string. We're going to return some I enumerable of product. You read that, of course, as of, just like you would say cup of tea.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay? So we're going to have that return that list of products. All right, there's our little database there. Okay, let's see if that does anything. Control F5. I'm telling you, Control F5 is where it's at. You should try it. You like the debug?
I do. I like the debug.
Yeah. Let's go and say /API/products. Look at that.
Look at that.
All right.
Now, do you have a plugin or something installed?
I do have a plugin. I'm sorry that you noticed that.
Oh.
See how there's that flash right there? I've got a little plugin that's launched called JSON View.
I was going to say, because when I view
It's
JSON,
nice,
it doesn't look that good.
Yeah. This is JSON View. It is a little plugin that just makes it colorful. You can see for a moment there that there's a flash.
Yeah.
And then it makes it pretty. And what it gives you is that experience. So it's worth checking out. Every browser is going to be different. If I go and bring this over into Edge, for example, I'm going to get it looking like that. And then I want to open up F12 Tools. One of the other things that I like to use, other than a browser, if you're going to spend a lot of time doing web APIs, is a thing called Postman. There's also, what's the one you use? Fiddler?
Fiddler. Yep.
Telerik's Fiddler. So Postman lets me go and do things like this. I could say it's a get, it's a whatever, and then all these
There's our verbs again.
Verbs that I never use, like unlink and purge. Usually I use get and post, and I'll say send. You can also do send and download. It's a great little tool. Lets you do basic auth and things like that. And then we can see each of these things formatted certain ways. You see if I formatted it as JSON, it looks great. That was what was the raw
that's what
value,
we sent.
right? That's the raw value, and that's the pretty print, okay? So that looks great. That turned out nicely, but what's significant about that, isn't it, is that we took a list of products, it turned into a I enumerable of products because we only want to go forward over it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But did you notice that there's no view there, right?
No, there isn't.
So what's going on?
Right, so we're returning that model directly, and it's generating that iAction result for us that wraps that model that's being returned and turns it into, with that JSON formatting, JSON.
Yeah. That it sees that an enumerable of product comes back. It knows how to format it as JSON. And notice this, though. I didn't see the word JSON or JSON appear anywhere in this as well. It gets about single responsibility principle.
Yeah, right. Formatting lives somewhere else. We're concerned only about our business logic to make our controller work.
Right. Our job is to return products controllers. In this case, not to think, if we can avoid it, about JSON or whatever.
Right, and if you think about it, to make the comparison to MVC, we're not putting the formatting in JSON here. Similarly, we have Razor views to do the formatting when we do an MVC controller.
So let's make an API that returns just a product. And we'll say that it takes an int ID. We talked a little bit early on about model binding and how that's going to come out of the URL.
Yep.
Okay. And we're going to say return, and we're going to take our little products database, and we're going to say just give us a single item. Sometimes with link you say single or default. We're going to go and give us something and compare each of those things against ID.
You need your Anders.
Forgot my Anders operator there. One day he'll know that I call it that, and then he'll either call me angrily, or we'll be friends and we'll hang out together.
Go for tacos.
Yeah, we'll go for tacos. So then I'm going to say HTTP get again, but we have two things called get now. We've got an overload.
Yeah.
Get and get, right? Here then, I need to say, hey, get, look for something called ID. All right? That is going to map the HTTP ID to the ID on the property there. So I should be able to go to /project/1 or /2. See if that works.
And get that specific product returned.
That is the goal. Let us find out if it's true. So even though I'm going to be launching my browser here, also useful to know that you can control what gets launched. So if you wanted to put in your Fiddler or your Postman or whatever as a browser that you would launch, you can totally do that as well. Okay? So we said /API/products, right? We'll just say /products/1.
And there we go.
Look at that, a little database search there. That's our details view.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's good, yeah. All right. So then,
Ship
here's
it.
a question. Well, almost there.
Okay.
Because this is a web API, we want to try to follow some certain rules, right? The idea of being RESTful,
Yes.
right? Representational state transfer. You can go and look up the original PhD thesis about it. But the general idea is this. This is how I think of RESTful, and you tell me if I'm right. That these objects are resources. If I want a GIF, I do an HTTP GET. I get the resource. The resource is the GIF. It says content type GIF, and then the GIF is returned. If I then asked for it and it wasn't there, I should get an appropriate status code
Yes.
that represents reality.
Yep. But then there's this whole other concept about resource types, right? So if I request that product and I say I'd like that as a GIF, then
Oh my gosh, you get a GIF.
then I'll get an image of that product that I requested.
That's a really great
But
point.
if I requested it and I said my content type is JSON, then I'll receive the JSON data about that same product.
That is a really interesting point. So I say /API/products/1.
Yep.
And I say I only accept GIFs. Then a picture would come back.
Sure.
And if I only accept XML, so there's a content negotiation there.
Yes.
Interesting.
But once again, it's not part of our code that we're writing in the controller.
Right. So we have to do a little bit of that ourselves. So here, we'll go and grab that product. So instead of saying return, I'm going to say var. Okay, var product equals product. So we're going to just squirrel that away for just a second because there's only 5 products in our database right now. And we're going to say if product is null, do something. Otherwise, do something else. Well, before it was fine. We could return the product. But what we really want to do is we want to say HTTP 200. Okay.
Yeah, right. Let our requesting clients know that, hey, we did something right here.
Now remember when we changed our controllerless controller or our POCO controller to inherit from controller base?
Yeah.
That includes this really convenient and fun OK. So I can go and say, makes an OK object result. Someone told me that OK was a misspelling of all correct. And there was a president, I think it was Roosevelt or somebody, who would go and say, OK, OK, and he was intending to say all correct, all correct. Don't know if that's true or not. So we say OK product, but then this product here is no longer what we're returning. What we're really returning is an I-action result.
Yeah.
Okay? So then, if we didn't find it, what's not found?
We got to return that 404.
Right. So do I return 404? No, there's actually a not found.
So you found the not found method.
I did.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Isn't that great? So now I would hope to visit this again and visit a resource that does not exist and then get back a 404. do it from Postman because it's Postmandier, it's better. Let's zoom in on that. We saw before 5 worked. 66. 404.
Not found.
Not
cool.
found.
And no content appropriately.
Exactly. Worked exactly as it should. All right. So that's pretty cool. Those are just gets, though. We need to add a post and do something a little more sophisticated.
Yeah, we want to fill out a little bit of that CRUD set of operations that we discussed earlier.
Good point. Let's talk about CRUD for a second. CRUD, that is create, read, update, delete. If we go and split those up, create and read, update and delete. Create, let's do read. We did read before. That was a get.
Read is a get.
Figured that one out, right?
Yep.
Create.
Create is a post.
Typically a post, and then an update is a put.
Yep.
And then a delete is a delete. That's kind of the mapping that we've all kind of agreed upon.
To the HTTP verbs.
Amongst HTTP verbs. Exactly, HTTP verbs. And there have been in the past some firewalls, rarely, but it happens, that don't like puts, don't like deletes. There is a way to tunnel those inside of a post.
Okay.
So you say, here's a post, because everyone allows posts, but it's really a delete. But that's more of an advanced topic. All right. So let us go and say public void post. This is cool. It's going to take in a product. We talked about this. I talked about this with Maria, this idea of model binding, that in the old days, you would have to go and say var p equals new product. And then you go p dot this ID equals, and you go request dot.
Left-right code.
And we called it left-right code, which is basically left equals right, and it was no fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And
the
we used
idea
a tool
was
like AutoMapper.
Yeah, exactly. And you would dig code. You'd say request dot query string, and you'd go digging and digging and digging into the object just to go and put it. And it was fine for 1 or 2 parameters, but it was bad for more. Let's not do that. Let's figure out that they're going to do that automatically. We saw this before. If you take a look at the introduction, how to do bind.
Yeah.
Right? You can say bind exclude certain fields or include other fields. We're going to go and we're going to say, hey, product database, which is our list, product. So here's the question, though. How do you post a product, right? What does a product look like? Well, they kind of look like JSON, right? So they would be open JSON, close JSON, and then they'd say ID equals, or ID, actually it's JSON, so it would be like this, and then a comma, and then a name, and then it would be like 4K TV, right? And that would be a bit of JSON right there. You need to say that that's the body, the payload.
Yeah, the body of the request that's being submitted, right? When we have an HTML form that is being submitted, right? When you post with that, the contents of that are being turned into typically it's a delimited string array that it's sending back.
It's kind of URL encoded, but they call it form encoded.
Yeah, right? And then, ASP.NET parses that apart and then hands it to our methods here so that you can interact with that content. But we can now use model binding to just figure out whatever type is being submitted and turn it back into our strong typed object.
So just like routing was two-way, you can go and say, here's a URL, what object is it? Here's an object and a method, what's a URL look like? Products we can turn into JSON. You can also deserialize it.
Yep.
You've heard the term serialize and deserialize. It's kind of like that, but I guess they use formatter now. But what we have to do is tell it where the product is. Now we've done things like this, HTTP post, where we put an attribute on top of post. You can actually also put an attribute on a parameter.
Yep.
Like from body. And from body says the parameter should be bound using the request body. It's not coming off the URL. It's not coming from a form post. It's something else.
Right, that hint telling it, here's where you need to get this from.
Mm-hmm. So let's do some debugging, because you love debugging.
I do.
I'm going to go and breakpoint that and then hit F5. And we're going to launch this one up. And then while that's coming up, I'm going to go and run Postman. Okay, so here's our application starting up here. Here comes Postman. And we're going to post to /API/products. It's interesting, don't you think, that we have been reusing that URL. We used it for a get, we used it for details, and now we're going to post to the same thing, but the one URL, multiple functions.
It is multiple functions, but it's multiple functions because it's answering and responding to each one of those verbs differently.
Exactly, exactly. So here, we could go and say, how do we want this data? We'll go and we'll post the raw text. I'm going to go and format a little JSON here. I just copied that, in fact, from my comment there in the code. Not amazing. I'm not proud of it, but it happened. Okay, so there's our little bit of JSON, and I'm going to post that. Okay, and let's see if it works or not.
I was going to say, why don't we make that ID something different?
Oh, that's a good point. Pardon me. I've been a 4 before. That'll be a 6. Good answer. Good point. All right. And it probably, just to be correct, we'd have to test it to see, but we'll make it like more correct like that too. Is that all right?
Looks
all right.
good to me.
Now, we're saying raw. We're going to post it to this location. We changed our verb. I may have forgotten something. We'll see.
So let's run the get and see if it landed.
No, I don't have to. Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
So I posted some JSON, but I never said that it was JSON.
You're right.
Yeah. So we posted some JSON, we did it raw, but under headers here, we said what we would accept, but we did not say, in fact, what the content type was. We didn't include a header that said, this is itself JSON. Postman's really convenient for that, isn't that nice?
Mm.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So now we'll hit send.
Breakpoint.
Breakpoint. There's that pause where it's like, is it going to crash or is it going to work?
So now what's our product look like?
I like to do this with my products. One of the features that no one uses, and I also like to say, leave little notes to myself in my debug windows. So you can actually pin that there, and that'll stick around for as long as you want, if you like. So yeah, it pulled that information of those name value pairs, turned up in there, and then now we're going to go and add a product to that little database. So then if I hit F5, it's an in-memory database. So how long is that going to last?
Yeah, as soon as that application restarts, it's gone.
Right. So the other thing is that it added it to our little tiny database, but did we say that it worked? You know how there's a 200, which is OK 200. There's another one that's called 201, which is created, just like we were getting back at 415 there. So we'll say that it worked, and we'll say created at action. That's going to produce a 201 created. Remember, the whole 200 series of codes are OK.
Success indicators.
Exactly, exactly. But I never, can't remember that kind of stuff. So I'll just say, hey, that get that we just did, the name of that particular function, that went and made a new thing, and we'll actually talk about that. We can say it made a new thing. Here's the ID of that.
Well, actually, I think aren't we telling it, this is where you can find that new thing you create?
Right, exactly. It's like it's over there, like the location.
Yeah,
it
was created at, and it's over there if you want to go find it.
Let's do this. Let's go and figure out what that turns into. Is that a header or a body or what?
Sure.
Okay.
The response to that post.
Exactly. So so it's saying made it, and now it's over here.
Yeah.
And that's why that ID is so important. So let's go and do it again. All right. We'll make a ID number 7. That's going to be a 5K TV. It's even fancier TV than the one we got before.
So there's the response down there at the bottom.
Let me resize this. The
201
request has
created.
been fulfilled and resulted in a new resource being created. That's cool.
So there's the object.
There's the object kind of returning back to us like, yeah, that thing, I got it, it's cool.
What do our headers look like?
Yeah.
There it is. Look at the location.
Yeah, and as you said, and it's over here.
Yep.
Isn't that sweet?
Very cool stuff.
It's good stuff. Let's do a couple of more quick additions to this because we haven't really validated any of this. We did a little bit of validation for form validation.
Yeah, we nearly ran into that problem with the duplicate ID being added.
We indeed did. Let's take a look at our product, and we'll remember that name is required. So we're going to put on a bit of data annotation. This is part of the exact same stuff, and this is what's so great about a unified MVC and a unified web API, right?
Yeah.
You can reuse the same objects and the same data annotations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to say that that name is required. Okay, you can't get away without giving us a name. So back here on our post, before we add, you could go if product dot name and then check the length and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, you don't want to do that.
No.
Single source of truth. We're going to say if model state, the state of the model, is valid. If it's not valid, freak out. Otherwise, do the stuff that was cool, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to say return bad request. What is a bad request? That's a 400.
Right. Right.
That's a way of saying that that didn't work. So let's take a look.
So now, any place that we would need to validate that product object has all been centralized around this very simple attribute that you decorated
Right.
the model with.
Exactly. One source of truth. So now we'll go in here. We'll add and change the ID, except this time we will conveniently forget the name and post that.
Content length 0.
There you go. Bad request.
There we go.
Bad syntax cannot be fulfilled, but it didn't really tell me why. Didn't let me know why. So I know it was bad, but we've all had that experience when we were working with web APIs where it's like, it didn't work. Tell me why. And you keep posting it and posting it and posting it. What we want to do is we're going to tell that bad request. It has a couple of overloads. One of them is the model state. We could actually pass in the state of the model, the one that we just checked. Let's tell it the model state and see if we can get a little bit more context and maybe a little information, because we got to pass on those error messages or something, because this is not helping me. We're actually getting back JSON.
Nice.
Telling us the name of the field and what the problem was with that field. Yeah?
So name in that case is referring to the field name that was missing.
Right.
Right?
Now, certainly the shape of the object and how it gets serialized could be different.
Right.
We could have last name and surname or whatever, but in this case, there's a one-to-one relationship between those two. Okay? So we've been doing JSON. Why don't we take a moment and add some XML? Why not? Because I like XML.
XML made the world go round in
It did.
2001.
But some people don't like XML, unfortunately. I'm going to go ahead and do it like this rather than doing it with the NuGet stuff. Notice that when I hit save, we're going to go and...
Actually,
Is it already included as well?
No. You're adding Microsoft Extensions configuration. You actually, I think,
Oh,
want
look at that. Good call.
MVC formatters. And that is not included.
Oh, that's a great point. Look at you pointing out a great example. Let's go back and confirm what's going on there. You brought up a really interesting point. JSON's more common.
Yep.
So JSON's there by default.
Yep.
Okay. So what I did is I went and saw blah 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 .json.
Yeah.
And went and figured, yeah, sure, that's cool. I'll just copy paste that. Wasn't thinking. This is actually going to be Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.MVC.formatters.
Excellent.
And look what I did, .formatters. I get a bunch of choices here, .xml, and we'll go and we'll say 1.0 for what we're doing here, although there is a 101 out there in the world, and I'll make sure to add my comma. So now I need to tell the system about this. This particular XML formatter came from, as I recall, a thing called WCF. So what I would have done if I needed that would be I'd say dot add XML data contract serializer formatters. A little bit long, maybe more information than I needed.
Oh, but that's the size of method name that you prefer.
It is in fact what I prefer, and there's a real question is why have we not included ones that long in the past? I'll go ahead and add it to MVC right here. Notice that I changed nothing in products.
Yep.
I changed nothing in the controller. That's the most important thing to think about. Okay, let's control F5. Come back over here. Go back to do a get, and we will go and get one of our tacos. And we say send, and we get back tacos. Okay, that's JSON.
Right.
Let's go to the headers and say we don't accept JSON. We accept only XML. All right? So we're giving it a list of what we accept. Look at that.
Look at that.
Isn't that great? Did not have to do anything. But I don't like that it makes me do XML. I insist JSON for all, maybe at least for this particular controller. So I can, if I choose to, be kind of a jerk about it. And I can indicate at the controller level, at the top level, that this in fact produces only application JSON. So now I have locked that one down. So no matter what you say,
yeah,
right, totally up to you at that point.
So to throw back to our previous example where we talked about GIFs, where I'm requesting images of these things,
right.
You might not have images of these products. So to restrict to just that content type prevents people from requesting GIFs and pictures.
Or whatever, or any other formatters I might include. So the point is I could include a whole series of formatters and then just restrict however I like on a controller by controller basis.
There you go.
All right. So that is a overview of how APIs, web APIs that return JSON or XML or whatever, work on ASP.NET Core 1.0. We'll be right back.